Those are usually unoccupied, and there are no such young children in the first floor units, his dad replied. Maybe it was the 6-year-old boy from 501, his dad replied. Son suggested. Maybe he was just scaring me pretending to be a little girl. But his dad's words confused him, and he couldn't be sure if he had pressed the wrong button. He couldn't remember which apartment he had pressed, and the more he thought about it, the more confused he became. He decided to let it go, thinking it was probably just a mistake due to being tired from classes and not feeling well. His dad comforted him, saying, "All right, don't scare yourself. I'll make some hot porridge, have a warm meal, take a shower, and then go to bed." He thought the incident was over, but 2 days later on Saturday evening, another strange thing happened. Their school didn't schedule evening study sessions on Saturdays. Although there were classes in the morning, the evening was supposed to be free, but it wasn't. They had to attend tutoring classes from 8 to 10 at night. On Saturday, after eating dinner at home and getting ready for the tutoring class, his dad waited for him in the car downstairs to drive him there. He finished packing, grabbed his bag, and left home as usual. Heading down the stairs, the building had motion-activated lights, and the one on the 4th floor worked well. But the one on the 2nd floor had been broken for a long time, and the one on the 1st floor wasn't very reliable either. He often had to stump his feet, cough, or clap his hands to get the 1st floor light to turn on. He left the apartment, and the light on the 4th floor was on. When he got to the 3rd floor, he coughed loudly and stomped his feet twice. But the lights on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd floors didn't come on. Only the lights on the 4th and 5th floors were on. So he used the light from the 4th and 5th floors to make his way down. But it got darker and darker. It was an overcast day, and the hallway was already quite dark. When he reached the 2nd floor, he thought that maybe the 1st floor light wasn't very sensitive, but wasn't broken. He stomped his foot hard again to try to turn on the 1st floor light. At that moment, the lights on the 4th and 5th floors were on, but when he stomped his foot, all the lights from the 1st to the 5th floor went out. Not only didn't the downstairs light come on, but the ones upstairs went off too. He panicked because he had just experienced that strange event a few days ago, so he was already very nervous and sensitive. The hallway was so dark, and he was scared. He wanted to hurry, but he didn't dare to move too fast for fear of falling. He cautiously made his way down the stairs, feeling his way along. Just as he reached the corner between the 3rd and 2nd floors, the hallway, which had been very quiet, suddenly echoed with the sound of a little girl's laughter. Ha 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 ha. It was very clear and not far from him. The sound was coming from above him, not from inside an apartment, but from the hallway. It was right above him, at the entrance of apartment 302 on the 3rd floor. He recognized the laughter. It was the same eerie sound he had heard from the intercom on Thursday night. Son was terrified and didn't care about the darkness anymore. He stumbled and scrambled out of the building, rushing out of the iron gate. His dad was waiting in the car outside the gate. When he saw his son come out in a panic, he got in the car and asked what had happened. After catching his breath, Son briefly told his dad about hearing the noise in the hallway and the little girl's laughter from in front of apartment 302. His dad frowned and asked, "Are you sure you didn't hear wrong?" "No way," Son replied. At that moment, his phone rang. It was his mom calling. She asked Son what he was doing because she had heard him shouting in the hallway earlier. Son didn't dare to tell his mom the whole story over the phone, so he just said that the motion-activated light had broken and he had almost fallen. "I'm fine," he assured her. Sitting in the car, he looked out the window at his home. His mom was standing by the window, still on the phone. Son remembered that on Thursday night, when he had looked up, 2 windows on the 2nd and 3rd floors had been lit. Now, he noticed that the windows on the 1st, 2nd, 4th, and 5th floors were all lit, but the 3rd floor was dark. He recalled that on Thursday night, around 10 o'clock, the windows on the third and fourth floors had been lit, specifically apartments 300 and 402. He shivered and quickly hung up the phone, telling his dad about his realization. I remember seeing the light on at 300 that night. 300 hasn't been occupied for a long time, his dad said. No way, I'm sure it was lit, Son insisted. Now looking at the building, apartment 300 was dark. The two of them sat in the car and Son told his dad, I'm not feeling well today. I don't want to go to the tutoring class. I really don't feel good. His dad noticed that something was off with his son and didn't push him. He parked the car and took his son upstairs. As they entered the building, his dad stomped his foot and suddenly the lights on the first, second, fourth, and fifth floors all turned on. Son couldn't remember how he had followed his dad back home. Once inside, he sat on the sofa shivering. His mom didn't know what had happened. The two parents probably discussed it briefly in the kitchen. Son's mind was filled with the eerie details he had encountered over the past few days. He thought of something. If the first time he heard the little girl's voice, it wasn't a girl, but the boy from apartment 502. That didn't make sense either. The boy from 500 was particularly short. Even though he was 5 or 6 years old, the indoor doorbell in their building was installed at a height of about 1.6 meters from the ground, suitable for adults. If he had pressed the wrong button and it was the short boy, he wouldn't have been able to reach it. And if there were adults at home, they wouldn't let the child stand on a stool and play with the intercom repeatedly. This really didn't add up. But whose doorbell had he pressed that night? Whose voice had replied to him? Who was laughing and operating the intercom? So many questions scared him, and his parents were also quite frightened. They comforted him, saying, "All right, don't be afraid. We'll ask about it in a few days." After the end of term exams were over, they moved to their new home. Sometime later, he asked his dad again, "Did you ever ask if anyone was living in apartment 302? His dad said that the residents of 300 had come back a few times. The residents of 300 were not from his dad's workplace. They seemed very secretive. His dad had gone down to talk to them about the situation, but the residents were quite dismissive. Later, even the residents of 301 noticed that a talisman had been posted on the door of 302. It was a piece of yellow paper with red markings like a ghostly drawing. After that, nothing strange happened in the building anymore. Eventually, they moved away. But Son still doesn't know what exactly happened back then.